Imagine this. It's the early 1980s, you've just bought your dream home, but then the unexpected happens. You're a homeowner in the heart of the American dream, basking in the joy of owning your own space. The world is your oyster and your home, your pearl. Your kids are growing up in the backyard, and every evening the aroma of home-cooked meals wafts through the air. You've worked hard for this, and it feels like nothing can take this joy away. But then, the storm clouds gather. The interest rates start climbing. You hear whispers from your neighbors, stories of soaring mortgage rates. Suddenly the dream starts to wobble. You feel a pit in your stomach each time the mail arrives, dreading the sight of the mortgage bill tucked within the letters. It's not just a piece of paper, it's a grenade that threatens to blow up your world. You start to cut back, first on the little luxuries, then on the necessities. The laughter in the house grows quieter, the meals smaller, the smiles fewer. You begin to feel like a tightrope walker, balancing a stick over a chasm of financial ruin. You fight, you struggle, you hope. But the interest rates are relentless, like a tide that keeps rising. One day the inevitable happens, the bank comes knocking, a foreclosure notice in hand. Your dream, your home, is no longer yours. The moving truck pulls away, leaving behind an empty house and a broken dream. You drive away, one last glance at the place you once called home. The pain is sharp, a wound that feels like it will never heal. This was a reality for many homeowners during the 1980s, a period marked by high interest and mortgage rates. But remember, history has a way of repeating itself, and as we dive into the current housing situation, you'll see just how true that is. Now, let's delve deeper to understand what exactly happened during the 1980s. The 1980s was a decade marked by economic turmoil, with the housing market at the heart of the storm. A significant factor driving this crisis was the high interest rates that prevailed throughout the period. The Federal Reserve, in an attempt to curb the rampant inflation of the late 1970s, raised interest rates to unprecedented levels. At their peak, mortgage interest rates soared to an astronomical 16%. This caused a significant strain on homeowners across the country. For many, the dream of homeownership quickly turned into a nightmare. The high interest rates made mortgage repayments more expensive, leading to an increase in the number of people unable to keep up with their payments. This situation was further exacerbated by the stagnant wage growth during this period. While the costs of homeownership were skyrocketing, incomes were not keeping pace. This mismatch created a financial squeeze that many families found impossible to navigate. The result was a wave of foreclosures across the country. In a single year, over 600,000 homes were foreclosed, a number that was unheard of at the time. The magnitude of the crisis was such that 1 in every 200 households was directly affected by a foreclosure. In addition to the personal tragedies and hardships, this wave of foreclosures had broader economic implications. It led to a drop in home prices, creating a vicious cycle where decreased home values led to even more foreclosures. This cycle continued until the housing market and the broader economy were mired in a deep recession. The 1980s were indeed a tough time for homeowners, but does this sound eerily familiar? Fast forward to the present day, and we find ourselves in a somewhat similar situation. The housing market of the 2020s and early 2023s is marked by a notable surge in foreclosures. The echoes of the 80s high interest and mortgage rates are resounding through the halls of today's real estate market. In the first half of 2023, we saw a 13% rise in foreclosures compared to the previous year. Some cities, like Atlantic City, New Jersey, and Florence, South Carolina, saw even higher spikes. The culprit? Rising home prices and property taxes straining homeowners' wallets. Moreover, the average property tax on a single-family home has risen by 3%, further complicating the affordability of homes. With the median home price in the U.S. being 44% higher than before the pandemic, the dream of homeownership is moving farther out of reach for many. And it doesn't stop there. By the third quarter of 2023, foreclosure activity had surged to the highest level since the pandemic began. In September alone, foreclosure filings jumped by 11%. This increase was largely due to the end of mortgage forbearance and foreclosure moratorium programs implemented during the pandemic, leaving financially strained households exposed. Experts warn that this trend is not likely to change anytime soon. With high mortgage rates and a shortage of available housing inventory, the housing market is becoming increasingly precarious. Economists caution that the financial strain on American consumers could intensify in the coming quarters, particularly as student loan payments resume. The numbers don't lie. we seem to be in a repeat of the 1980s housing crisis. History doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. The same seems to apply to the housing market. As we delve deeper into the similarities between the housing crisis of the early 1980s and the current situation, some striking parallels emerge. Just like the 80s, we're seeing high interest rates that are putting a squeeze on homeowners. During the early 80s, interest rates soared to double digits, making mortgages expensive and out of reach for many. Fast forward to our present time and we're witnessing a similar trend. Interest rates are climbing and homeowners are feeling the pinch. Foreclosures, the unfortunate outcome of unaffordable housing costs, are another shared aspect of these two periods. In the 80s, the high interest rates led to a surge in foreclosures as people found it increasingly difficult to keep up with their mortgage payments. Now, we're seeing the same pattern. Foreclosure activity has surged to the highest level since the start of the pandemic, reflecting the financial strain on many households. The financial burden on homeowners is yet another similarity. In the 80s, high interest rates and skyrocketing property prices placed a heavy financial burden on homeowners. Today, the combination of rising interest rates, increased property taxes, and higher home prices is putting a similar strain on homeowners. But perhaps the most significant similarity between these two periods is the impact on people's lives. Then, as now, many homeowners found themselves in the heartbreaking situation of losing their homes. The emotional toll of this experience, combined with the financial stress, can be devastating. It's clear that the echoes of the past are resonating in our present situation. The question now is, how can we learn from the past to navigate the challenges of the present and future? So, where do we go from here? Is there a silver lining in these dark clouds? Having navigated through the rough waters of the housing crisis in the 80s and the one we're currently experiencing, it's clear that these financial storms, while challenging, aren't insurmountable. In recounting these events, one can't help but notice the striking similarities. High interest rates, increased foreclosures, and steep property taxes have all played significant roles in both eras. But it's important to remember that these tough times also offer opportunities for learning and growth. One crucial lesson to take away from these experiences is the importance of financial planning. Whether you're an existing homeowner or looking to step onto the property ladder, a solid financial plan can be your compass in these turbulent times. It can help you anticipate and prepare for potential challenges, such as rising interest rates or mortgage costs. Moreover, it's essential to stay informed. The housing market is complex and ever-changing, and having a grasp on current trends and future projections can be a game changer. This includes keeping an eye on the economy at large, as factors like inflation rates and government policies can have a direct impact on your home's affordability. Don't hesitate to seek professional advice. Financial advisors, real estate experts, and credit counselors can provide valuable insights tailored to your specific circumstances. They can help you understand your options, from refinancing your mortgage to applying for government assistance programs. Finally, remember that you're not alone. Many homeowners are navigating these same choppy waters. Reach out to your community, whether local or online. Sharing experiences, advice, and support can make a world of difference. The housing market may be tough, but with the right knowledge and advice, you can weather the storm. Remember, you're not alone in this.